Using pictures to subtract integers. Let's say we're going to use some drawings to get the idea of subtraction. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4 tokens or circles or coins, and they all have a positive inside. So this is going to represent +4 or +4. Okay, and what we're going to do is represent subtracting +3 from this +4. So of course, if we just saw this in a textbook, really it would be, hey, what is 4 minus 3? And we could work that out. 4 minus 3 is 1. So we're using the positives here just to enforce that, hey, yes, this is 4 positives, and then we're going to subtract 3 positives. Okay, so how do we do that with pictures? Well, we're going to decide from this 4, we're going to remove, right, because it's negative, subtracting 3 of them. Okay, so these 3 are going to be removed. Okay, so this indicates that we're taking them away, and then whatever is left, which is right here, 1 positive token, coin, circle, and that means that the solution is 1. Okay, so now we can do the same thing over here, and what we have now are same thing, circles, coins, tokens with a negative inside. And so the negative is simply going to mean that this right here represents -3, right? There's 3 of them, they're all negative. And let's say we want to subtract, okay, we want to remove -2. Okay, so there's 3 negatives here, and we want to take away 2 negatives. Okay, so just like in the other question, we're going to subtract 2. Over here we subtracted 3. Here we're going to subtract -2. So here's 1, 2 negatives, and that gets taken away, and so we're left with the answer, which is -1. There's 1 negative left, so the answer is -1. Okay, so let's draw this out. Let's do a few more examples. So +3 is going to be 3 coins. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to subtract 2 of those coins. So we simply take 2 of them and we remove. What are we left with? 1 positive coin. So the answer is 1. We do the same thing over here. So 4 negatives. We're going to draw 4 negative circles, negative coins, and we want to remove 1 negative. So here's our 1 negative, and we're going to represent it being taken away with the circle and the arrow. So we're left with 1, 2, 3 negatives. So the answer is -3. Now, let's say we have +3 and we want to subtract -2. So this is different than the other question because we're starting with positives and then we're removing negatives. Whereas before we were either removing positives from positives or removing negatives from negatives, and this is a little bit different. So what we have is 3 positives, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and we want to remove 2 negatives, but there aren't any negatives in this picture to remove. Okay, so what we're going to do is, if we add a pair to this, if we add 1 positive and 1 negative to this picture, well, really, +1, -1, +1 and -1, this pair together is really 0, right? If we take 1 positive and 1 negative and we add them together, we get 0. So this still is a picture of the number +3, what we started with, okay? And we're going to do that a second time because we're trying to remove -2. Okay, so I have 1 negative by adding a pair, but I need a second negative. So I'm going to add a second pair. Okay, so again, this is +1, this is -1. Together they make 0. So this whole picture is still 1, 2, 3 positives. This is 0, this is 0. But what we've done now is we've added these 2 negatives, and that means now I can remove -2. Okay, so here's -2. I can remove it. And what we're left is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positives. So we're left with the answer, which is 5. Okay, so over here, we start with 1 negative. Okay, so we can draw a -1, and we want to remove 4 negatives. But there are definitely not another 4 negatives that we can take away. So much like this question, we're going to add some pairs. Okay? So we'll add a negative and a positive, which again, these combined make for 0. So this number is still -1. Now we want to take away 4 negatives, but there are not enough. So we're going to add 1, 2, 3 more pairs. Okay, so all of these pairs add up to 0, so this is still negative 1. We want to subtract negative 4. Okay, so we want to take away negative 4. We want to remove negative 4. And we're left with 1 negative and 1, 2, 3, 4 positives. Okay, so as we said before, this is a little bit trickier, but the negative and the positives, they cancel each other out. Okay, so these ones go away because they're being subtracted. We're subtracting negative 4. We're left with 4 positives and 1 negative. Well, this 1 negative and this 1 positive, they cancel each other out, right? Negative 1 and plus 1 makes for 0. So really what we have is 1, 2, 3 positives left. So negative 1 minus negative 4, what we're left with is positive 3.